Well, like I say, the police will be deployed where it's necessary, and the vast majority of the public absolutely deplore what has happened. This is no way to conduct yourself. It is thuggish and criminality, and the police and our courts stand ready to deal with it.
What do you think about what Elon Musk has been tweeting about Britain and the Prime Minister over the last few days?
Well, what I say is that all social media companies have responsibilities as well to deal with fake news. We've seen a lot of fake information being shared online platforms. We've seen a lot of hate, and people have a responsibility to not conduct themselves and to amplify that, but actually to deal with the online misinformation, but also not to spread that hate. And you know, we don't want to see that, whether that's online or offline, and people who are online spreading violence and inciting violence will be met with the law, as well as those that turn up and...
Elon Musk just caused a political firestorm with a revelation on live TV about Angela Rayner. The worst part is that no one saw it coming.
Between Diddy and Epstein, there's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that the people on those videos are lecturing the rest of us about our moral failings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
What is that?
Well, I mean, part of how they deflect attention from themselves is by, criticizing the morals of others.
Yes.
It's sort of like a preemptive moral strike. Those who are saying Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves actually the threat to democracy.
He exposed something that is causing a political earthquake. Across the internet, people are scrambling for answers. Headlines are exploding and social media is in meltdown mode. But what did Musk say, and why does it matter so much?
You want to share what you have to say?
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay. But I mean, when you link to somebody who's talking about the guy who killed children in a mall in Allen, Texas, and you say something like it might be a bad psyop. I'm not quite sure what you meant, but.
Oh, in that particular case, there was it was, I think, incorrectly ascribed to be a white supremacist action.
There's no proof, by the way, that he was not.
There's no. I would say that there's no proof that he is.
And that's a debate you want to get into on Twitter?
Yes. Because we should not be ascribing things to white supremacy if it's false.
This wasn't just a random comment or another one of his unpredictable tweets. It was a direct hit in the middle of an already tense political battle. On one side, you have Angela Rayner, the fiery Deputy Labour Chancellor, who always speaks her mind.
The Council House, minimum wage, income support, tax credits, Sure Start, training and opportunities, they're the things that help me and so many others.
But it's that council house and the tax affairs along with it that are becoming a distraction again. This time, questions raised by the Mail newspaper over whether she paid the correct amount of tax on her ex-council house when she sold it in 2015 before she was an MP. It all hinges on whether the home she sold in Stockport was her principal property, which would mean she wouldn't have to pay any tax on any gains. The newspaper claims that dozens of online postings made by the MP, like this one, show her posting about her children and cats at her husband's address, another property a mile away.
Then you have Elon Musk, the eccentric billionaire who isn't afraid to call out government officials or anyone who fails to meet his standards. Their clash had been building for weeks, but no one expected it to explode like this. Musk didn't just argue, he came prepared. The question now is, how will Rayner fight back? Let's break it all down. Angela Rayner has built her reputation as a no-nonsense politician, proudly representing the working class with fiery speeches and sharp criticism of the wealthy elite. She's a key figure in the Labour Party and never afraid to call out big names. But this time she took on someone even bigger.
Twitter doesn't have a choice but to obey local governments. You know, if we don't obey local government laws, then we will get shut down. So the best we can do is really to hew close to the law in any given country. But it is impossible for us to do more than that, or we will be blocked and our people will be arrested. So one cannot just apply America to Earth, because Earth is not. They have different rules and regulations and different forms of government. So, but we'll do the best to provide the freest speech that is possible under the law.
Musk, who usually dominates tech and business headlines, has been making waves in UK politics, openly criticising policies and questioning Labour's leadership.
Well, the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, is with us in the studio this morning. Welcome to you. What's the latest information that the government has? Can you confirm that Assad is gone?
Well, we don't know. The situation on the ground is fast moving at the moment. If the Assad regime has fallen, then we welcome that news. What we want to see is a political solution along the lines of what the UN resolution is, and we're working with our allies.
Are you sure, though, if this rebel group does take charge, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, they have connections and roots with groups like Al-Qaeda. Are you sure as a government they'd be a better option than the Assad regime?
Well, again, working with allies on the UN resolution, we've got to have a government in Syria, a political solution that protects civilians and infrastructure, because
What started as a few sharp tweets quickly escalated into something much bigger. The back and forth between them became impossible to ignore, leading to a high-stakes live TV showdown. The cameras rolled, the lights were bright, and the atmosphere in the studio was thick with tension. This wasn't just another political interview, it was a showdown. Angela Rayner sat with her usual confidence, ready to hold her ground. Across from her, Elon Musk leaned back in his chair, calm but calculated, as if he knew he had something explosive up his sleeve.
Free speech used to be a left or liberal value, and yet we see from the in quotes left a desire to actually censor, and that seems crazy. I mean, I think we should be extremely concerned about anything that undermines the First Amendment. There's a reason for the First Amendment. The First Amendment is because people came from countries where they could not speak freely, and where saying certain things would get you thrown into prison. And they were like, well, we don't want that here. And by the way, in many parts of the world, including parts of the world that people might think are relatively similar to the United States, the speech laws are draconian.
The world was watching from the start. It was clear Musk wasn't here for small talk. When asked about his recent criticism of the Labour Party, he didn't waste a second before turning the focus on Rayner.
And a good sign as to whether there is free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like. And if that is the case, then we have free speech. And it's damn annoying when someone you don't like says something you don't like. That is a sign of a healthy, functioning, free speech situation.
With a slight smirk, he pulled out what he called important information the public deserves to know. The room went silent. Rayner, known for her quick comebacks, stayed silent as Musk flipped through documents. From the reaction of those in the room, it was clear that no one outside his inner circle had seen these documents before.
With respect to freedom of speech, I think it is important to have a global free speech platform where people from a wide range of opinions can voice their views. And in some cases, there were advertisers who were insisting on censorship. And at the end of the day, if we have to make a choice between censorship and money or free speech and losing money, we're going to pick the second. We're going to support free speech rather than agree to be censored for money, which is, I think, the right moral decision.
Musk laid out the first bombshell records of undisclosed meetings between Rayner and corporate lobbyists. These weren't just casual sit-downs, according to Musk. These meetings had been strategically hidden from public records, raising serious questions about transparency. Rayner, who built her career as a straight-talking politician for the people, was now facing evidence suggesting she had closer ties to powerful business interests than she had ever admitted. The second revelation hit even harder. Musk revealed financial links between these lobbyists and key Labour initiatives, hinting that behind closed doors, Rayner wasn't as independent as she claimed. You talk about standing up for the working class, Musk said, his voice steady. But these documents show you've been making deals with the very people you claim to fight against. The tension in the room spiked. Elon Musk is essentially the richest man in the world, and one would argue, for a brief second, Rayner's confidence wavered. she quickly composed herself, dismissing Musk's claims as misleading and taken out of context. "This is just another billionaire trying to smear a politician who stands up to him," she fired back. But the damage was done. The audience could see the shift. The woman, who always had a sharp response, seemed for the first time caught off guard. The host attempted to steer the conversation, but Musk wasn't finished. "People deserve to know who really pulls the strings in politics," he said, locking eyes with Rayner. The silence that followed was louder than any words. The fallout had already begun. The moment the interview finished, the internet exploded. Within minutes, the online platform exploded. Headlines like "Musk beats Labour" were trending worldwide. Social media turned into a battlefield, and Musk's supporters hailed him as a truth-teller, exposing corruption in politics. But Labour loyalists called it a smear campaign and accused Musk of using his wealth to influence public opinion. But beyond the arguments, one thing was clear: people were paying attention. Clips from the interview flooded Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Some focused on the exact moment Rayner seemed to hesitate, dissecting every facial expression. Others replayed Musk's final words, debating whether he had just changed the course of UK politics. Memes surfaced within hours comparing Rayner's reaction to past political scandals. On the other hand, some questioned Musk's motives. Was this about transparency, or was he using his power to shape the political landscape for his own interests? While the internet debated Labour's response, or lack of it, was just as telling, the party remained unusually silent. No official statements, no public defence, just a few vague comments from insiders suggesting they were reviewing the claims. Was this a strategic decision to avoid adding fuel to the fire, or were they genuinely scrambling to assess the damage? Either way, the longer they stayed quiet, the worse it looked. News outlets wasted no time dissecting the chaos. Major broadcasters ran segments analysing the documents Musk presented, bringing in political experts to weigh in. Some pointed out that even if the claims weren't illegal, they raised ethical concerns. Was Rayner as independent as she claimed? Had Labour been less transparent than they wanted voters to believe? Others questioned Musk's increasing influence. If a billionaire could publicly shake a politician's credibility in a single night, what did that mean for democracy? Behind the scenes, Labour MPs were reportedly divided. Some wanted to stand by Rayner, dismissing the allegations as exaggerated attacks from a powerful businessman. Others feared the damage was too great and worried that Labour's credibility was at risk if they didn't distance themselves. Could this affect Rayner's future in the party? Would Starmer have to make a decision? Musk's voice has always been loud, but this time it felt different. He wasn't just criticising policies, he was actively challenging politicians on their transparency and influence. Was this a one-time event, or had Musk just established himself as a serious political disruptor in the UK? The dust hadn't even settled, but one thing was certain: this wasn't over. Elon Musk has never been one to stay quiet, but this time he's done more than just debate. He's shaken the foundations of British politics. Some see him as a fearless disruptor, exposing hidden truths that politicians would rather keep buried. Others argue he's overstepping, using his massive influence to interfere in a democratic system where billionaires shouldn't have a say. Whatever part of the spectrum you support, his presence has raised vital questions about the future of politics in the UK. Is Musk's stance a necessary wake-up call or an alarming power play? At the heart of this chaos is a bigger question about transparency in government. Should politicians be held to a higher standard?
Could we have a commitment this morning that a future Labour Prime Minister will never use domestic flights and certainly won't use private planes domestically?
Well, Keir doesn't use domestic flights. Keir always travels as green as we possibly can. And, talking about...
Rayner built her career on being a straight-talking champion of the working class. But if Musk's documents are accurate, then her behind-the-scenes dealings tell a different story. This isn't about one politician, it's about trust in the system. If you enjoyed this political discussion, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content.